keyboard should work now. I don't know. It's just out.
All right. All right, we're gonna get started now. Okay, sorry about the alignment being off here on the center screen. We have no idea what's going on. But so my name is Carson. I'm one of the TAs, if you don't remember, and I'm just gonna kick it off with like some housekeeping course overview stuff. First up, we had our last jam session last week. We think it went pretty well. Kelsey demoed Sketch, and then there's no jam session this week, but there will be next week. Next up is we're gonna start doing office hours. We've uploaded a Google sheet of each of our office hours for this week and next week. That's on the course website under contact. The course website is umishdesign.com. Attendance for today is going to be, the keyword's going to be Detroit, and that assignment should be open on Canvas now, and that's open until 4:30, so don't forget to do it. Next up, the first assignment's due tonight, so in case anyone forgot about that. A lot of people submitted already, which is super awesome. Glad to see that. And there's going to be a new assignment going out tonight as well that Sam will go over at the end of the lecture. And last up is today we're going to be going over some tools, so Sketch and Figma. So if you don't have Figma invites, let us know like right now, and we can try and figure that out for you. And if you have Sketch, be ready to open it up because Kelsey's about to do a quick demo on Sketch.
I'm going to switch it. You ready?
This will be a really awesome time for you guys to try and open up your laptops and open up Sketch or Figma. Oh, I have no control.
There it goes.
All right, I'm gonna just do this real quick.
Oh.
Cool.
Drag it over.
Okay. This is fun. Okay. Everybody see this? I can't, but I'll look like this. Wow. Okay, this will be really interesting for me. So last week at our jam session, we went over Sketch and Figma a little bit, and I know this might be like a redo of last Wednesday, but we want to have a time in each class dedicated to learning the tools a little bit. So what you're seeing right here is actually the Figma app, which if you didn't know, they made a beta app for desktop for Windows and Mac. So I think you could just look it up on Figma.com and download it from there, but it's been really helpful to have that instead of just being online to use it. So today I just want to make some basic shapes where you can make like a pretend pseudo UI like this. It's not the prettiest looking thing, but it's something we can make really fast. First of all, I just want to get a gauge, like who knows how to use Sketch/Figma in this room? Like has like a basic baseline knowledge of it. Yeah? Okay. So I'm just going to make a couple of quick shapes in order to make this thing right here. And this is going to be very fun because I'm having to look up on here to do it. So first of all, as you can see, this is kind of like the shape of this is in a container for an iPhone 5. And what's really nice about Sketch and Figma is that you can select an artboard. Jeez, I can't see anything. Okay. All right, so if I wanted to make in Figma, they're called groups. In Sketch, they're called artboards. So in Sketch, if you went to insert at the top bar and selected artboard, you can select on the right-hand side iPhone 5 as your container. For here, I'm just going to do this, and this isn't doing, I can't do this way. Well, I'm just going to do it with A. So you can use the letter A as a keyboard shortcut to create an artboard. So I'm going to do that really quick, like this. Pretty similar size to what's over here on the right. And now I need to make a nav bar. So in order to make a nav bar, I'm going to create a rectangle. And so if I wanted to make a rectangle, I would go up here in Figma to, This is,
Really quick.
I'm really trying. I can't move my mouse. Well, there it is. Okay, nope, there it is. All right. Fun times. All right, so I can either click this rectangle up here, or in Sketch again, there's a button, or there's a menu at the top, menu option at the top that says Insert, and you can select Rectangle, or hit the letter R on your keyboard, and I'm just gonna make it like that. And I'm gonna drag and let it go, just like I would if I'm creating like maybe a rectangle in Google Slides or Google Docs or something. And I want to change the color of this very badly, but I don't know how to do it right here because it's cut off. Hold on. Let's see. Well, all right. If you can, try and change the color of this. There's a thing called fill. I made mine yellow. It's like one of the default colors that Figma had. And I'm going to give this a title. And over here I call mine Cool Robot because this is like pretend. Let's say I wanted to like buy something. It's just like a big picture of it. Somebody who posted it, it's Toys R Us, and some filler text. So I'm going to make another rectangle to show that I have an image. And this is like a lot of times, you guys will be learning this soon, but we're going to be making wireframes. And in wireframes, you do a lot of gray boxes to signify that there's some content there. So pretend that this is an image. And now, like, okay, I want to make the like a profile of somebody who posted this. And I see like a lot of, I don't know, a trend you might see is like a circle for an image for somebody, like of their photo. So I'm going to make a circle. Again, if you go to Insert, Add Circle on Sketch, you can do that. Or here's like our Shapes drop-down menu. You can click here. Or again, there's another keyboard shortcut to make a circle. So I'm going to do a circle, and if you hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, it'll create it from the center out. And I'm going to make the person's name. So in order to add text, you can go up here, the Type tool, same in Sketch, there's also a Type tool, or you hit the letter T. I'm going to say this is posted by me. Posted by me. Cool. You can also change the font size, the color, all that other stuff. I can't really do that right now because we're going to figure this out by the end of class, or after class, how to better show this to you guys. But there's that. And now I'm going to create a button. I'm going to just pretend that there's text here because we have a little bit of time left. So I want to make a button. This is technically a rounded rectangle that I made like a really crazy radius on. And radius is just like the corners of a rectangle or a shape. So in order to do that in Sketch, it's really nice. You can hit the U button, or again, I'm going to keep saying this over and over again, Insert, Add Rounded Rectangle. And you can just hike up the radius on the right side of the screen. There's like a side panel, and you can just change the number in there. Or for Figma, which we learned last jam session, there is not a way to just make a quick rounded rectangle, but you can go and change the radius on the side, which is not showing up here. I wonder if I could just do this. No, can't. Okay, I want to add text for this button. I hit the T on the keyboard, and I said add to cart. And with buttons, you want to make sure that they're actionable sounding. So like you want to make them do something, right? Like you see a lot of submit or sign up or log in. It's kind of just like a quick tip. And then you could center this if you want, which I would if I could. And yeah, that's about it. That's about it for today. And have you guys had a chance to go and research some really awesome sketch tutorials on your own? There's a bunch out there, and we're going to be having like a resources page that we'll share with you guys via Canvas, and it's also be on our website, our umishdesign.com website, to go and learn some more fun stuff. Sorry this wasn't as fun. We'll fix it for next time. That's about it. Yep.
All right. Raise your hand if you have downloaded Sketch or Figma and been playing with it before this class. Nice. Pretty good amount of you. How many people here think that they've got a handle on it already? Raise your hand. How many are you like so-so? How many people feel confused, like this is confusing? Okay, no worries. You guys can come up and talk to us after class. Like we said, we have the jam sessions always. We're going to be doing a lot more of this, so don't sweat it if you don't have it yet.
Also explain tool time.
Tool Time is the show from the 90s that Kelsey loves, which is why we did this one.
It's actually not true.
Okay, we're going to do some lecture content now, and we'll have a little exercise by the end of class. Real quick review. The first class, we talked a little bit about what this class is going to be about. We also talked about what design is. That the best design is a design that best suits its context, including the environment and the person who's using it. We did a critique. You guys are still working on this. Some of you to do tonight, if you are doing it. We talked about like picking any object, like somebody's water bottle. What's good about it, what's bad about it. And then we talked about the process that you go through to make a design that suits all those requirements for something that's good. This is the double diamond process. And we sort of talked about a quick version of that process, which is what is the problem we're trying to solve first, then making a thing, and then using that thing to figure out if we solve the problem or not. Any questions on this stuff from last time? Okay, cool. So the last two classes have sort of been this like big, broad overview, like abstract, what is design, man, philosophy stuff. And the rest of the lectures that we're going to be doing and the events we're going to be doing are all focused on like getting it done and figure it out. So today is like where we start to ease our toes into the pool and start to actually make some stuff. Who can tell me what the first part in our design process is? What's the first thing we do when we have a new idea for a design? Lauren?
Identify the problem.
Yeah, you gotta identify the problem. So that's what today is about, user research. Some people who are designers, UX designers, spend their entire careers on this first step. We're only gonna do one class of it. It's important to do one class of it, but I think as you'll see, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's like a really scary thing for a lot of people to do. And if you do it right, just take a few minutes, honestly, to do user research right. You're gonna set up the whole rest of your time way better. This is also a pretty common thing in entrepreneurship classes. Is anybody else taking other classes in CFE, Center for Entrepreneurship? A few of you? So it's going to be a common theme, right? It's not just for designers. Often, like if you're a CEO, they're going to say, the first thing you need to do is go out there and talk to your customers. If you're a CEO, they call them customers. Designers, they call them users. But you need to go out there and talk to people and sort of figure out at the macro level, like what exactly does the market need? Designers are basically business people doing the same thing at the micro level. So a CEO would ask, do we need to build a clicker or not? And a designer would ask, what kind of clicker? What kind of buttons on the clicker? How big? Et cetera, et cetera. Does anybody know what scratching your own itch is? This is a common theme in entrepreneurship.
I'm just guessing, but it's just solving for the problems that you have with it.
Exactly. Solving for problems that you have is what he said. This is a pretty common way that people like get into doing stuff, right? So like, all right, I was going to lunch and I couldn't find a good place to eat, and I was like, there should be a better way to do this. Very common entrepreneurial thought, and often people will build out stuff that suits that particular itch that they had, the problem that they felt really strongly. It's easy to feel your own problems really strongly. And then they build out a design, and often it kind of sort of works, and sometimes it takes off and is incredible. Most of the time, it doesn't really do it. So it's actually a good way to like just get some chops underneath you. Like if you have a problem, try designing it for yourself. But one of the things we're going to really focus on is designing for other people. Honestly, you're not your user. And even if you are your user, like even if you're a restaurant lover and you're building for other restaurant lovers, there's going to be only so much overlap between what you can do and what you want and what they want. There are some things that you do that you think everybody does, and they don't do them. And there's some things that other people do that you might be surprised by what they do. It sounds obvious, right? Like this isn't like rocket science, but a common theme for design is empathy and understanding others. And there's so many designs that I've made that could have been so much better had I just paid a little bit more attention to who is actually going to be using it in the end. This is a slide. So actually, how many of you came to our jam session last time? Raise your hand. Do you guys remember the design room when we went to the room and saw all the things up on the wall? This is a picture from the things that were up on the wall. These are all pictures of like concepts that have helped us get unstuck. I always have to explain kill your babies because it's so terrible sounding. But basically what it means is if you have like this like way of solving something that you really, really love, often it helps to throw it away. One of my favorite ones is a good UI, or a UI, a good UI, the right UI. See it right in the middle there? Got a zoom enhance feature here. Basically, if you guys like want to become designers and you really get into this, you're going to build a lot of UI. You're going to be building design after design after design. And you're going to get good at it. And you're going to be able to build one day. You're going to be able to realize, I can build, just sit down and build a good UI without thinking much. And it's not just like a crappy thing. Like, it looks good, it works well, it's simple, it's attractive, it's modern. And then you're going to work a little bit more, and then you're going to have this realization like, oh man, I can build multiple good UIs to suit this problem. And sometimes we think we're done when we build it and it's simple and it looks good. Like, of course that's the answer. And it's hard to see it when you're starting out that there are so many different ways that this could be done well. The goal is to figure out the right UI. Design is not just like there to make us feel good. It's there to solve the problem, right? And if you're in a business, design is a crucial part of that business. And if you're a designer, the more you recognize that, the more influence you're going to have when you're in that business. So you're going to have to make the case that not only is your UI a user interface, but that it's a good user interface, it's easy to use, and of all the possible things you could have built, this is the best one. User research is how we're going to do that. Is anybody here primarily taking classes in STAMPS, the art school? A couple of you? Who's primarily taking classes at SI, School of Information? A few more of you? There's sort of two ways that designers tend to come into design. There's like the art route, where people start making things that look good and start to get into things that are functional. And there's the functional route, where people start making things that like work really well and then they want to make them more visually appealing. Generally, the people who go from the art route tend to think that like the craft is what makes a design really good. Like the art of sitting down and tweaking things and getting it looking really good. And they tend to think that when a design is done poorly, that it's just a matter of adding more craft and thought to it. And that might be sort of the art school approach. And the technology school approach, or the engineering approach, might be to say that we want to research a lot about like how a design works and who our users are. And sometimes people like in SI can like really do a lot of that, like they'll do it all day. And some of them just sort of stop there. And when a design goes wrong, they think, well, we didn't research well enough. And honestly, the truth is, if you do like just a little bit of both, if you really get your craft down and you really get your research down, you don't have to do like an incredible job at either. You just have to do a pretty good job at one, pretty good job at the other, and combine them. So if you're an art person, pay attention here. If you're like a researcher, this might help you figure out how to do less user research. Okay, so how does this all start? Generally, it does start with the vision. Like, you don't just do a bunch of surveys of random people to figure out what problems they have. You probably have some sense in your head about what kind of problem you want to solve. Can you raise your hands if you are interested in building a project that sort of lasts the whole semester? We talked about 2 tracks, sort of toward the beginning of class. Okay. Is anybody like pretty sure they're just going to do each homework one at a time and not worry about continuity? Okay. Anybody not really sure yet? The rest of you? So if you're not sure yet, or if you think you want to take a project and carry it through the whole semester, this is where it starts. Hopefully you have some ideas about some things you might want to address. Obviously you're going to have some vision, maybe something that sort of scratches your own itch. Let's turn that into some user research. The next step is to find some people to talk to. This is where I get stuck sometimes, like right off the bat. It's so hard. Honestly, I think it takes a lot of bravery to do good user research. Does anybody have any ideas about how to find some people to talk to? It's tough. Yeah.
I did a research project in high school.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found was that you want to go to places where people are not busy, they're sitting, they aren't moving around, so they would talk to you. I went to a mall one time, everyone was moving around and sitting out shops, and they were not really wanting to talk to me. I went to a bus stop, they were waiting for the buses, they had time to spare, and then they were answering my questions.
That's awesome. He basically said, go to where people are waiting around and not busy, and they're going to have some time to talk to you. That's a really cool idea. So for example, mall is tougher, but a bus stop, everybody's sitting in a bus stop, and they want to talk to you. That's a pretty solid idea. Yeah?
last fall I was working on a travel startup, and so I went to like the airport and also the like transit center in town, like specifically to find people who were traveling, to talk about their travel experiences, and it kind of worked out well because people tend to be waiting around, like he said, in both those areas, and they also tend to be the demographic you're looking for in the first place.
Yeah, so he was working on a travel app, and he went to bus stops in the airport to talk to people who are actually traveling. You remember that slide with like the woman in the kitchen? We're all trying to target like the actual person who's going to use this, not just everybody. So finding somebody who's actually got the problem you're dealing with in your demographic, whether it be age, which is like sort of okay, or like somebody who has that need, like definitely whoever's in an airport clearly travels. That's a really good idea. Any other thoughts? Some other things that I've done is I go to a coffee shop with a sign that says free coffee, and I've accosted people who try to drink coffee and make them tell me a little bit about what they're dealing with. If you belong to any groups, you're all students, right? So you can reach out to other students. Often you'll have connections as students. If you're targeting like a specific group of people, like people who might want to buy laptops, some things I've heard people doing are going on Google AdWords and taking out ads that link to a survey and paying 5 cents to Google every time somebody clicks in your ad and then having them fill out a survey about laptops. It's really hard, but there's a lot of like, quick things you can do to figure it out. How many people you need is really not that many. I mean, obviously like 100 is great, but that takes up a lot of time. If you talk to 3 to 5 people, you're probably going to learn a lot that you wouldn't have otherwise learned. Okay, to go back a second. So you found some people and you want to do some user research with them. What kind of questions would you ask them? I get stuck here too. It's tempting to ask questions like, hey, if I built this awesome doohickey, would you use it? It's tempting to ask questions like, what do you want me to make for you? But those tend to actually be pretty bad questions. We'll explain a little bit why. The rule of thumb here is basically to not talk about the product you're building. You got to first figure out what the problem is, right? And then we're going to test whether or not what you decided you want to build works by actually showing it to them. So the better question to ask would be something like, what are you doing? Okay, you're at an airport. Take this example, like, what's going on? Where are you going? Who are you? How are you doing today? The second sort of go-to question is, what's the hardest part about what you do? What's the biggest hassle you have when you're flying? If you're in a coffee shop and you're trying to make an app for people who drink coffee or tea, what is like your least favorite part about going to the coffee shop and getting some coffee or tea? People are gonna have like a lot of complaints. There's always like things that are wrong in life. We're not gonna solve everything, but if you ask what's the most annoying thing, like what's driving you crazy right now, that can help you figure out what are the problems that are actually worth solving. And the last kind of go-to question is, how are you dealing right now? Like, what do you currently do to solve that problem? Say if you're in an airport, the biggest frustration you have is you feel like it's a waste of time, and the biggest thing you do is check flight status on your phone to make sure you're not going to be too late, so you can like get there right on time. Or if you hate waiting in the security line, currently what you do is you get there way earlier and try to skip the security line. Does anybody raise your hand if you've seen this quote? It says, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. It's a classic quote. Henry Ford probably said it. I couldn't actually tell if that's true or not. There's some suspicion that it did. Can somebody tell me what this means? Yeah, Ian.
Like, obviously Henry Ford made the first automobile, so he's saying that no one would have really thought of the solution he thought of because they were so used to what they already knew, but he was able to think outside the box essentially.
Right. So Henry Ford made the first like widely available automobile, and that if he'd asked people what they wanted, they wouldn't have even known that what he was going to give them was a possibility. Doesn't this kind of like go against what we've just been saying? Like, ask the people what they're looking for. I mean, I think it's true. This is like pretty common. People don't really know what they want. How does this square up with what we just said? You have to learn about your users. I think I can make the argument to Henry Ford that what people really wanted was a faster way to get places. People are going to ask you for features and apps and stuff because they haven't taken this class and they don't really know how great design is done. But that's just their only way of communicating to you what they really want. So they're going to say, I want a faster horse, if it's in the realm of possibility. And it's up to sort of you to translate that to, okay, I want to go places faster. And again, the goal here is to remove the product that you're making from the conversation. So horses and cars. If you're asking somebody about transportation and they mention horses and cars, you should kind of have to tune that out. Say, what are you really trying to do? Cars are generally better because you don't have to feed them. They are faster. There are a lot of benefits. But if Henry Ford had probably sat with somebody and talked to them about what they actually needed in their automobiles, then he would have found out that there were a lot of problems people had, and the cars probably did a pretty good job solving it. So that's the general rule of thumb. The other thing that's going to help you when you go through this process to get there is to just ask why. Does anybody have like a little brother, sister, niece, or nephew who just is like 5 years old and constantly asks why every single question? Basically become that person when you're talking to users. So figure out when they talk about a product, why they feel the way they do. And then you gotta write it down. Okay, so there's like a bunch of frameworks that people do for research. Honestly, I think just user interviews is pretty fundamental, but there's a couple you can do. Personas is a classic. Basically, you just write like a generalization character of somebody. Usually includes like age and like what their needs are, and then you kind of put them on the wall and say, whenever you're building something, would they want it? It's pretty good. Another one that's kind of popular is jobs to be done, where you sort of make a list of all the things that you want your product to do for these people, sort of the problem statements. This is the one I think I actually want you guys to use. It's really simple, and honestly, it covers most of the issues we have. Basically, this is a problem statement that you would either decide as a designer to solve or get as a designer. And if you're going to be working with designers, this is what I recommend you give to designers. It doesn't say anything about how we're going to solve the problem at hand. So it doesn't say like, we need to build a faster horse, or we need to build like a Model T with this many horsepower. It just says, so-and-so wants to blank so that they can blank. So for airports, it might be business travelers want to know what their flight status is, whether it be an app or somebody sending them a singing telegram, doesn't matter what the product is, so that they can time their arrival to the airport, for example. So like a real world example. I was actually going to have these guys come up and talk about it, but we think it would just be quicker to do it this way. But your TAs, Carson and Ahmad, were working on an app, actually, which is sort of how we met Ahmad, and this is after Carson interned for us. And they were working on actually a very timely app for today, which is fixing sort of politics in the United States. They wanted a way for, like, the vision was they wanted the students to communicate like what they wanted politics to be. They wanted to communicate like how they wanted to communicate like who to vote for. And they just wanted sort of build a platform. I shouldn't be having you guys explain this, but they sort of had this idea that they were going to build a system where you could see all your representatives, and Congress people, and senators, and then you could see like who was running for different offices and all the bills that were going through, and you could vote on them. And it's like a really good idea. And then they did some user research, and they found out something interesting, which is that they were mostly right. But there was one little detail. They found out that when they were talking to people, nobody cared about the representative, really. Nobody really cared about the bills that were going up. They only cared about the issues. So this had a pretty fundamental change in how they modeled their product. Instead of having like a list of representatives and a list of bills, they had a list of issues. And then like the bills and the red senators who were supporting them were secondary. And that's just something they wouldn't have been able to do had they not like had to talk to like I think 100 people or something that they went through. You're not gonna have to talk to 100 people this week. That's just an example of something that can be really enlightening when you're trying to build something. The time to figure that stuff out is as soon as possible. Are we doing enough time? We're gonna try it live. We're gonna go like a quick one right now. So Kelsey, come on up. She's gonna be my assistant for this. We didn't practice this at all,
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to ask me.
so we'll see how it goes. But here's a sample user research study. Hey Kelsey, how's it going?
I'm great, Sam. How are you?
I happen to know that Kelsey is a new puppy owner, Pablo, right?
Yes, absolutely. He's my pride and joy, and I love him.
So Kelsey, what is the biggest difficulty in being a puppy owner?
I guess I would say like giving him enough love. No, actually, that's not that hard. Giving him a place to go during the day because I work all day and I'm here at night sometimes, and I just want to not let him just be at home by himself all the time. I want him to be able to interact with other pups and humans and have some other love during the day when I'm not there.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Yeah.
So how are you currently making sure that he gets enough love and attention?
I have a system. I take him to doggy daycare a couple days a week, and then I also take him to my mom's once a week. It's like having a child. It's literally like having a child. I'm having child care. But it's worth it to me, and you know, it seems to make him happier too, from what I think. I don't know if dogs can really show happiness, but the whole wagging the tail thing kind of helps me see that.
Okay, that's quick, but I think that was pretty good. Let's go back to our format. Kelsey, how would you fill this out actually?
So me as a person, I want to have care for my dog during the day while I'm away. So I can be okay and be happy that he's happy, I guess, and not feel strife or guilt about him being by himself all day.
Yeah. Kelsey wants a way for her dog to hang out with humans over dogs so that she can feel like a loving dog parent. Feel good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. So that was a pretty small one, but I just wanted to do it live because it's really not that hard. I literally just had some questions that were on the slide. I didn't even do anything. Like, there was no genius involved in that. I wish, if I could go back in time as a designer, that I would do a lot more just basic user interviewing earlier on. It's so valuable. And we talk about Pablo the dog all the time, but I don't know if I ever really captured that idea about what she feels about Pablo in this format. Now, literally, I'm up here thinking of a lot of ideas. All right, I had this idea of thing I might be able to build for Kelsey. Maybe I could build a system that could remotely let her talk to her dog during the day, or schedule places for him to be. But maybe after talking to her, I realized that it's actually about being with other dogs, and that she really just wants to feel like she's a good dog parent. So maybe I can shortcut this whole get Pablo out of the house thing, and just make it so that I can give you a solution that makes you feel like you have a better connection with your dog, maybe getting you to work from home more days or something like that. Okay. Now it's your turn. I want you guys to spend the next maybe 10 or so minutes doing the same thing as some of your peers. Couple rules. I want you to get up and talk to somebody you don't know in this class. I want you to find a problem that they have that might be able to be solved with design. It can't be a problem you have. This doesn't count for the whole semester. If you want to build a problem later that is totally your problem, you want to scratch your own itch, that's fine. But we want to get you used to finding out what other people's issues are. And then I want you to write it down in the format up here. Does anybody have any questions about the exercise? All right, everybody get up, and let's move around a little bit. I'll see you in 10 minutes.